Some people said it would be McLaren who would screw up the strategy. Some people said it would be Ferrari. Turns out it was a little bit of both, as Lando Norris ends up winning the Hungarian Grand Prix. Against all odds, really. Charles Leclerc didn't win it, and Ludo Van Denderen's on the ground in Budapest. And you've had a chance already to speak to Fred Vasseur, although from what I gather, it wasn't really Charles Leclerc's loss that was the subject of the conversation, Ludo.
Well, of course, there were a lot of questions, and most of the questions about not Charles Leclerc, but Lewis Hamilton. You probably heard yesterday that Lewis was saying after the qualifying, well, perhaps Ferrari should change drivers because I'm not good enough anymore. I asked Fred about his thoughts about what Lewis said, and he said, well, I just understand what he's saying. Lewis is frustrated. He's not demotivated, but frustrated, and he wants to win. We can't give him that win. Nothing wrong with this.
It sounds like there was a very strange question coming from the media about the value potentially of Hamilton's time at Ferrari.
Yeah, of course the British media was also in the room, and after a few questions about Lewis's future with the team, there was one journalist who asked, "Well, you paid Lewis a lot of money, £450 million a year. Do you think you get enough value from what you're paying for?" And Fred Vasseur, he responded a little bit strangely because he said, well, I don't know if I understand the question, but if I do understand your question, it's a really bad question. So he didn't want to answer to that one. So that was the subject closed. Don't worry. Fred thinks that Lewis will be in a Ferrari also next year. Ferrari's not going to throw him out.
Fred always good value, whatever the situation is, no matter what Hamilton's value is. But yeah, very strange question there. Let's talk a little bit about the race then. And McLaren ends up winning and getting a 1-2 victory, unexpectedly a little bit, because Norris fell back at the start, Leclerc looked quite comfortable, and then it ended up being the other way around, that Norris was the one leading and then leading the race. This was a bit strange. It seemed as much of a strategic head-scratcher as it was last year, but with a different result.
Yeah, it looked like that Lando Norris was having a bad start, and eventually that helped him probably win this race. Because they went to a different strategy. They went for a one-stopper. Andrea Stella said after the race, well, we didn't expect that it would work, but it worked. And that is how Lando came before Oscar. He put Oscar behind him, even in the last round when it was pretty close at the moment. And he won the race. So, yeah, it's a strategy that worked out for him, and it wasn't planned to be the strategy. I think Piastri was not really happy with this afterwards.
Oh, I'm not too surprised, but there's quite a few questionable strategies that happened throughout this race. And if we keep going, odd to say it, but keep going further back through the grid, Red Bull Racing also with a very unusual strategy, although they had their lead driver, Max Verstappen, of course, going through the field and doing some overtakes, giving us some entertainment, but still seemed a very unusual strategy and a pretty bad result by Red Bull's high standards.
Yeah, the problem is the speed just wasn't there, the performance wasn't there. They couldn't get the grip on with these tires. So ninth, yeah, that's not what Max Verstappen is normally capable of. But they say at least this is a one-off. They know what the problem is. I said with Marco, so this is not going to happen again. But yeah, it's true for Lauren Mackey's the new team boss. This is the worst weekend in years, probably for Red Bull. I hope that they can win at least the rest of the season, at least a Grand Prix. That's what Mackey says. So yeah, and yes, he said it's not going to happen. But it's not that bad as it perhaps looked like today. This was a one-off, and everybody at Red Bull thinks they're going to win this season again.
Well, you're the Dutch person here, Ludo, and we've seen Lewis Hamilton always with that Hamilton advantage when he goes to Silverstone for his home race. The next race after this summer break is the Dutch Grand Prix. Is it too big an ask to think that Max, with his clear boost that he seems to get when he arrives at Zandvoort, could be in for a chance of fighting for a win?
Well, it's going to be difficult. Normally on paper, it's a track that McLaren would probably well suit, and it's also short turns. I asked around, but Red Bull thinks they have a better chance in Zandvoort, although it's still not a favorable track to them. We have to wait until Las Vegas, perhaps, for them. Yeah, but Zandvoort is going to be difficult, but who knows what the Dutch fans bring.
Yeah, well, big gambles at Las Vegas are always the way to go if you want to win big. So, Ludo, we've got the summer break now. You've had a very, very busy couple of weeks. So thank you for everything you brought from this double header. We're going to be taking it a little bit slower, but we'll be back for the Dutch Grand Prix at the end of the month. Thank you for everything you brought to us, Ludo. And thank you everyone else for watching.